Does anyone else think that Division B is going to be super interesting? Because I don't know. I just think that when you looked at Division A originally, I was pretty clear cut with who I thought was going to finish near the top, that sort of thing. But then obviously the whole sub situation happened, and then that's where things got mixed up. With Optic, of course. But then looking at B, I'm really interested. I think there's a couple of teams who I feel are definitely near the top, but I don't know which order to put them in. And then there's some teams who I think really could make a good push to get towards the top, but I really don't know what order to put them in. I just think that overall it's a really, really competitive group. And we're going to go over it today. As you can tell from the title, this is the Division B preview for the first week. Anyway, we'll do another preview of the second week next week, of course. This is, of course, just the first week of games. We're going to get into it because it could potentially be a long video. But if you want to have a further in-depth listen on what I think, what Brycey thinks, and whoever we have on Spitfire, then we will be covering this group as well tomorrow night, just before the Pro League does start on the Tuesday, of course. We're going to watch the first games, which will give us a good indication because Brycey couldn't do tonight when it does start, but we will be doing Tuesday and giving a good overall idea of what we think about the group. And we'll sort of touch on Group A as well. Hopefully we're going to try and get one of the players from Group A to talk about their games. We did actually have rated, but then something came up on his end and couldn't come on last night. Anyway, let's go into Division B preview, and it's a really juicy game to kick things off, isn't it? Heretics versus E United. Actually, I'm going to show you guys everything that we have here. So there we go. And we will go through each of these games. So Heretics against E United will be the first one. Now, as I said, this is a really nice game to kick things off and a real benchmark test for both teams. I think, Heretics will be coming in feeling good about themselves after the PLQ. But E United have had a pretty long layoff in terms of LAN, etc. They haven't played since Vegas at a LAN environment. So they'll be coming into this one and maybe having to try and get warmed up to a level where they'd expect themselves to be. I thought E United would take it fairly handily, but the fact that they haven't played online in so long, I think that is going to be a factor. I feel like we did see that be a factor for teams maybe who did qualify through Vegas. Optic, it's hard to say, but LG, obviously they qualified through Vegas, and then they really struggled in the league, and it just felt like it came in cold, and it took them a while to adjust to the environment. I don't think E United will struggle as much as LG did, but they've got a very, very hard opponent to go and start things off. I'm going to say 3-2 or 3-1 United. I'm going to stick with 3-2, actually. I think United will take this one, and I think it'll be a very close game, though. Heretics will be feeling good about themselves and will not be scared of United. The pressure isn't on them, and I think United will take this, though. Just the experience should shine through. They're a very good team, and I don't think Heretics have it in their locker to beat United. Team Envy against 100 Thieves coming up next. It's just a question of how good 100 Thieves going to be, isn't it? Because I think realistically, there's a lot of questions about this team, whether, was Ferro the right one to drop? Is Kenny right doing what he's doing with the Maddox or whatever gun they're going to be using in the second week? Have 100 Thieves improved with the addition of Priester? There's so many questions in that regard, but looking at Envy, they looked pretty much flawless at the PLQ, and I think it will be super, super tight. But I'm just about going to give the edge to Envy here. I'm going to give them it just because I don't know if 100 Thieves are going to be able to fix everything that was wrong already. Bringing in Priester, yes, it's a good addition. I think they will improve, but this is their first game on LAN with him. I think Envy will take this 3-2. Two very, very entertaining games to kick things off on Monday. Let's move on now to Tuesday. We've got Heretics against Denial to kick things off. An all-European matchup, of course, Denial, formerly Overtime. I honestly, about that team, I'll be very shocked if they win more than a couple of games in this group overall. I just think that, I don't know. I think, fair play to them. They did very, very well to get as far. They deserve to be here, but I think they are by far the weakest team in the Pro League, in my opinion. I just think that the teams that they beat weren't necessarily, well, actually, that's bollocks. Don't say that. They deserve to be there inevitably, but I just think that they are on paper the weakest team in the Pro League, and I think it will show. I think here, 3-1 to Heretics is what I'm going to go for. And, on the opposite side of things, I think Heretics really could push for top 4 in this group. I'm going to say Splice and United at the top, but then, you would say Envy realistically, 100 Thieves. I think Heretics could definitely mix it up with those guys, so I'm interested to see how far they go. I think they'll take the series fairly comfortably. One thing I do like about Denial is how good they were actually at control. They were really, really nice at that, but Heretics were also good at that. So this could be 3-0 or 3-1, I feel, towards Heretics. Next up, Envy against Accelerate. Now, Accelerate managed to get through against a solid Team Sween lineup at the Pro League and at qualifier, I should say, and that was a really big scalp for them to take. And these guys really did surprise me to get through. And you know, I spoke to the guys at Team Sween after the event, and I said, you know, what was it against Accelerate? How couldn't you beat them? Because I really did think they would. And they just said the speed. The speed of these guys was ridiculous, and they thought that was the main issue as to why they lost. And you know, Team Sween were typically very fast themselves. So a fast Accelerate squad are going to be hard to deal with, but I think that the most recent GAs might actually hurt them a little bit. Of course, we don't know what guns are going to be used in the second week so much yet, and I will be doing a video on the patch at some point this week. But I don't know. I don't think the pace is going to be enough to beat Envy. I think Envy will take this one 3-1. They're very, very experienced. Obviously, our current world champions with the addition of Hook, which is not a bad addition. I think this will be comfortable enough for Envious, and I think they'll take it 3-1. Enigma 6 against E United. Now, Enigma 6 looks so much better at the PLQ than they did in Vegas, but this is a tough first game for them, let's be honest. You know, going up against E United, second at Vegas for them, I think the only team that will realistically challenge them is going to be Splice. So I think it's safe to say that they should win this game. You know, honestly, look at E6 and look at Frosty. If he can perform, then maybe we have an interesting game. But I just think that E United, at this point, they'll already have played up against Heretics. If they've won that, I think they'll be flying, honestly. And I'm going to say 3-1 to E United in this game, but it really could be closer. Splice against 100 Thieves. Now, this will be an interesting one. Splice's first foray into the Pro League won't be easy. 100 T are a squad that will have improved, and they've already played. That's another factor in this one as well. This is Splice's first game, where it's 100 Thieves second, and 100 Thieves already went up against an envious squad. I do think they would have lost that game, but going into this one, it'll be interesting. I think that Splice could potentially come in cold, and that a team like 100 Thieves really could catch them out. However, if Splice come in how they should and play well, then this should be a simple game. However, they could slip against 100 Thieves, I think. I think it could potentially banana skin sort of game. A game that you expect Splice to win. A game I think Splice will win 3-1, but this one could go either way. I think it's a very, very tight game. You just don't know what the teams are going to be playing like on the first couple of days of Pro League, which is why it's quite difficult to make predictions in close games like this. But I'm going to go 3-1 Splice. I just think their respawn will be better. I think they could potentially lose the control, but their S&D is really good as well. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Splice. Let's move on to Wednesday, and then we'll scroll this bad boy down. There you go. So you've got 100 Thieves against Denial first. Again, I'll speak about Denial once more. I just think they're really going to struggle in this group. They've already lost 100 Thieves at the PLQ, and 100 Thieves have inevitably got better as well. So I think 100 Thieves will take this 3-0. And, you know, I don't want to bash them too much, but I really do think they are the weakest team in this league. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, because they're, you know, a young French team that could potentially do something. But honestly, I think Denial are going to struggle, and a game against 100 Thieves is not an easy one to go up against, especially with the talent on that roster. I think they will lose this one 3-0. Quickly brushed over that one, sorry guys. But Enigma 6 against Heretics will be the next game. Now, I think this could be a decent little battle for in and around 4th, 5th place. You know, you got Enigma 6 who could potentially be a team coming up in there if they play how they did the PLQ. I'm going to slightly side with Heretics in this one, though, because I think their intensity and their pace is going to be hard to deal with for a lot of teams, and I think they're going to be too much for E6. I'm going to say 3-2 to Heretics. I think their Search and Destroy game is pretty good. I think all around they're very, very good. You know, I think ultimately when it comes down to a lot of the victories we've seen last week, it was down to that specialist use being effective. And that's another one of Heretics' big traits, is the fact that their specialist use is great. The majority of the time, they are very, very effective at using these specialists. Well, I think that's what it could potentially come down to between these two teams, and I think they will take it 3-2 against Enigma 6. United against Accelerate. Now, I hope Accelerate can bring some sort of form from the PLQ to divisional play, but this isn't a game that they get much in. I think realistically, E United should be nice and warmed up by now at this point, I should say. and should be able to start flexing their muscles, I think. And I honestly think this could be 3-0 to E United. I think E United are, I would argue, my top pick for the division. They're my Splice, it has to be, and I think they should be handling teams like Accelerate fairly handily and will take this one 3-0, I feel. Splice against Envy. Now, this is going to be an interesting one, and this will really let us know where Splice are at, if they're warmed up, as they'll really need to win this one, I think. As Envy are going to be a team who are going to be challenging up there. They're in there with your 100 Thieves, potentially your Enigma 6s, your Heretics, who could be pushing for that top 2 spot if E United and Splice do mess up at some point. Now, I think Splice's SMGs will be a bit too much for Envy. We've seen Temp, although he was using the Maddox, of course, caused problems. But Jerd against Hook is a great matchup that I can't wait to see. But I think Splice will pip them to it 3-2. I think it'll be an interesting game either way. But I think Splice have got an all-around fantastic pool of maps. They're good at every game mode pretty much as well. So I think Splice will take this one in a close series at 3-2. Let's now move on to Thursday. And this is the last games of the first week. Heretics against Accelerate. Now, Heretics against Accelerate is a weird one. I've just got a weird feeling about it because Accelerate play quite similar to Heretics in the respect that they play very, very fast. I think it comes down to respawn this one. If Heretics can win the respawns, which I think they might, then this could be 3-1 to Heretics. However, I do favor Accelerate in the S&D. And I think this could be a banana skin for Heretics. This is the sort of game they could go on to lose. I think, against all the top teams, they'll go in there with that fire. But, going up against some of the other teams, like lower ranked teams like Accelerate, like, your Denials, you've got to be very, very careful if you're Heretics not to underestimate people like this. I think they potentially could. I'm going to give this one to Accelerate 3-2. I think their S&D will be maybe what does it for them against Heretics. I think it's going to be difficult, though. It's a very, very close one to call. Heretics could close it out 3-1, but if they don't close it out 3-1, I think they lose the last map. It will be 3-2, I feel, to Accelerate, but it is going to be a very, very close game. Denial versus Envy, it's hard to speak about it too much. I really think Envy are going to be pretty dominant in this one. Sorry to the French fans if you speak English and you are watching this. Sorry to Whalers and the boys. I do think Envy will win this one 3-0. I just don't have a lot of faith in Denial to cause too much problems for anybody in this league. I think realistically, as said, they are the weakest team in this division on paper, and I think that will show. It's a very competitive division, this one, and I think Envy will take this one 3-0. Splice against Enigma 6. Now, Splice I will be feeling good at this point, I think. Looking at the rest of their games, if they've went on and done well in those, this should be a fairly simple one. As said, E6 had a really slow start in Vegas, but looked good at the PLQ. However, I think this will be a step too far for them. I think Splice should be able to take this one and should be looking good by now. I think this will be 3-1 to Splice. Last game of the week will be United against 100 Thieves. Now, I think it's a really nice game to finish, but it's a really difficult one to predict because I just don't know what 100 Thieves we're going to get. Are we going to get the team that finished second in a couple of the pro downs when it first started in the 2Ks? Well, of course, they've replaced Pharaoh now, but I just think that pickup of Priester will help them. However, I just think the second place of Vegas is something to look at a little bit more if you're a United fan or if you're backing a United. I think the 100 Thieves change has definitely helped them. It's looking that way from what we've heard from scrims and online, that sort of thing. I'm just curious to how they perform. I don't think they'll be at their max level, so to speak. They'll still be powering up at this point, and I think United should be able to take this one 3-1, but it could be very, very close. It could be 3-2. 100 Thieves could take it potentially 3-1. I think it's going to be a close game, a great game to finish things off in Division A for week number 1. Guys, let me know your predictions. I'll leave the link to the schedule so you guys can check it. I try to remember. I'm useless at this YouTube thing at the minute. But I think it's going to be a really interesting division. Things kicking off tonight, going all the way till Thursday. We'll review this again. We're hopefully going to have Spitfire on the Sunday to review this and then preview the next week. But that's why I'm doing this video, is to preview the week, because we didn't get a chance to do it on Spitfire last night. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Do you think Splice and United are definitely 1 and 2? Who would you put number 1? For me, I'm going to slightly lean towards United. How far can Heretics go? All you Spanish fans, if you're in here and trying to understand my broken English, then let me know where you think Heretics are going to finish. I think they could be definitely top 4. I think they've definitely got a shot at doing that. You know, they're going up against Envy, Enigma 600 Thieves, so those spots. I think Accelerate and Denial are going to be the bottom 2. Denial further away. I think Accelerate have got a chance for top 4 as well. But I think Heretics could do well. Envy, could they potentially challenge the top 2? Let me know your thoughts below, guys. Please leave it a like as well. That would mean a lot. If you could subscribe, we've got content coming all over the place. I'm basically reviewing each day as it goes. So plenty of thoughts coming from me. Plenty of videos to get your teeth into to either disagree or agree with me. Let me know your thoughts below, and we will see you for the next video, guys. We'll catch you then.